I am joined by Robert Griffin III, James White, Field Yates Meanakimes.
All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
I just thought it was an opportunity, a good opportunity for him to go out there with the ones and put a few drives together. He moved the ball. We'll watch the film and evaluate.
You were going to evaluate the film based on quarterback performance. Is there a possibility you consider a change?
I don't know. Look, we talk about every single week. You know, you're competing for a job, so we'll get together as a coaching staff and see where it goes.
So there it is. Up until this point, and again, you always compare it not to what was said, but to what's been said in the past. And unequivocally, Jacoby's our guy. We have faith in Jacoby. We have faith in Jacoby. We have faith in Jacoby. And in this case, it's I don't know. And so that's where we're at. Is he said I don't know. And here's where I'm at. I believe, and this is why I thought it was going to happen. I thought Maye was going to start week 1 because I thought Mayo always wanted him to. I think that's what I read off of the way Mayo was talking about it. I think he realized at a certain point, I think I want to go with the kid. And at that point, Van Pelt was like, dude, we've been installing this stuff for Jacoby and he's been running with the ones, and I don't think we can make this switch. And maybe cooler heads prevailed and Wolf, and let's preserve him. And okay, fine, we'll wait. But I think Mayo wants to see what the kid's got. And I think if it was anyone but San Francisco, and if a million other linemen didn't just get hurt, I think it's a no-brainer he starts next week. I'm still not sure, though.
So my issue
Gather
with
your
this,
thoughts.
I understand that Drake Maye gives him a better chance to win. Like, he's more mobile, he can give you more, and there's more to fear when he's in the game. I've never disagreed with that. It's why I thought that he was going to end up playing in October, because I didn't think that Jacoby would be able to play well enough that if Drake was lighting it up in practice, there would be a justifiable reason to not play Drake Maye. My thing is, I didn't want them to play him because they're panicking, because they're like, oh, crap, like he's not ready, but we have to. That's the worst case scenario, because I understand he survived and he got hit. Like, I didn't think he was going to shatter. I'm the one who's been saying he is mentally tough. He'll be able to take hits and he'll be fine. But we're talking about going into an offensive line with a left side completely made up of backups. Right. Like, at least when we were talking about this and him coming in, I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's going to be Vidarian Lowe, City So, Layden Robinson a battle, David Andrews, Mike Nwenu at his natural position, and Chuks Okorafor ideally at right tackle. I knew it may not have been great in the run game, but I thought at least in pass protection, you have a bunch of guys, especially on the right side, who have had successful NFL careers to some degree at those positions. Now, I just think you're putting him in a terrible spot where, yeah, he can make more plays, but the bad habits, like one game they may not pop up, 2 games, maybe even 10 games, you don't really see any bad habits creep in. But I find it very hard to believe that he can get pressure potentially on 50% of his dropbacks and not start to come up with some really bad habits, start dropping his eyes to the rush. He even said himself that he's took a stupid sack. Like, we need to also remember he is a rookie. Like, we're not talking about, oh, they have Aaron Rodgers on the bench. Like, he's still going to have to make his mistakes, take his lumps. And you're going to have him put in that position behind an offensive line that's not even just like fine, where, okay, if you can kind of scheme around them. Right. I don't know how you scheme around this group anymore, because no offensive line is built to sustain multiple injuries. So I really want to be clear. I never thought that Drake Maye wasn't better than Jacoby Brissett or a better option. I just didn't want to screw up his potential development plan because you're scared and because you just think, oh, we have to throw him out there because Jacoby's just getting killed. It's like, well, what do you think is going to happen? Even if he does get out of some pressure, like, he can't get out of a pressure in a sack when he's getting pressured inside and outside. So that's my biggest thing. If it happens, then sure, I was wrong, but I'm still adamant in my point that they shouldn't be rushing him out there.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong at all. And it's not rushing. I actually think it's like the people in the camp of play him and people saying this kind of stuff you're saying are kind of saying the same thing. Like, it's going to be bad for him. What we don't know is, will it affect him adversely going forward, which is, will struggling and running for your life and feeling a rush and getting sacked and taking hits change the way you play quarterback forever, or like have you shell shocked, or again, now Bryce Young is the cautionary tale here. For everybody seeing what's happened here. Will that happen, or is it just kind of part of everybody's growth and development? Maybe these are extreme circumstances with how bad it is currently with the state of the offensive line. But my contention has always been it's top 3 picks, top 5 picks at quarterback usually go to teams that are bad and they struggle. And you're seeing it everywhere right now. Like Jaden Daniels can't complete a pass past the line of scrimmage because he's under duress. Caleb is running for his friggin' life. Like, I think that's kind of the reality of anybody, but also historically, these guys just play. These top 3 I went back and looked at it just out of curiosity. I'm like, what happens to these guys? I went back to 2008. 29 starting quarterbacks taken in the top 7 picks. 29 quarterbacks taken in the top 7 picks. 19 of them played week 1. Another 6 played the majority of their team's games, like 9 being 2, and everybody else was 12 and 13. Jared Goff played 7. The only 2 quarterbacks who did not play any meaningful games or snaps who were taken in the top 3 or 4 picks in the last 15 years, 16 years, were Jamarcus Russell and Trey Lance. Now, if you're telling me that Drake Maye is in that
category,
is in that camp of clueless, then yeah, maybe he waits a year. But everybody else plays them, and it's varying degrees of success. There's no book that says you struggle early behind a bad offensive line, you have a terrible career. There's some guys who started bad, threw a bunch of picks, got sacked a ton, ended up being solid. There's others who were actually pretty good in year 1 and got worse. So I don't know that we know what's going to happen, but I know people are scared, but I don't know that it's definitive. So you're kind of like what do we do here? You know, like you definitely don't want to risk it, because if you screw it up, that's really, really, really bad. We just don't know if you screw it up. So it's like, how cautious are you being now, you know?
And I think that they're going to be as cautious and careful as possible with this decision. However, this is the week that they're going to sit and actually talk about it this week, I think. And Drake Maye told us that. But after what happened tonight, I think you kind of have to. And they went into this thing from day one, where we have a plan and we are going to bring in a veteran. What? You don't agree?
I'm just so scared. I'm not even, okay. I don't even.
But do you agree that now,
but do you agree that
now is the time to make the decision? Not make the decision, but you can have a discussion about it now, right?
You have to.
Okay.
Because they did it. Like,
of course. Okay.
I can disagree all I want, but I just don't I hate the idea. If
we
you
got him.
Have 2 backups
on one side, we got him.
I still am in the same camp, but I don't think they should.
I don't think so either.
Again, like you talk about all the quarterbacks that were drafted first, like even if they had bad offensive lines, they have an entire side of people who weren't even starting in like spring practice in spring practices. Again, I understand the argument. I get it. And now that Mayo's open, the genie's bottle, whatever the hell, now it is going to be a talking point, but
Pandora doesn't go back in the box.
Right. Pandora's box. So
a couple of things now that I kind of have my head on straight a little bit here is the Patriots went into this season with their plan at quarterback, and it was, we're going to sign a veteran, Jacoby Brissett. We're going to draft a guy at 3 at Drake Maye, and we're going to use this time and not screw this up like we did with Mac Jones. And Elliott Wolf was here. He saw that play out. It did not work. They threw Mac Jones into the fire week 1 behind eventually, and not year 1, but year 2 and year 3, a bad offensive line, an incapable offensive system around him. And we saw what happened. So I think that they want to be very, very careful with the way they do this. So I don't think that this week, after what happened, it's going to be push the panic button and put Drake Maye in. It's going to be, okay, we have 10 days before our next game in San Francisco. We need to sit down and we need to make a rash not make a rash decision. Let's make
a rational decision.
Yeah, let's make a rational, calculated decision. Myself, Drake Maye, Elliott Wolf, Alex Van Pelt, whoever else is in that circle of trust, and see what happens. Now, with where was I forget where I was.
I'll say
if you got something.
I mean, bottom line, man, I still do think that Drake Maye going in there, I think maybe he would help with some of the pressure. Obviously, his athleticism, he can run for more, he can extend more plays. If he gets out of the pocket, you're really scared as a defense, because Jacoby Brissett may extend and find Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper like 10, 15 yards downfield, but Drake Maye can throw it like 40 yards downfield. So of course he does put you in a better position, but from what I've seen with Jacoby, like I just don't know how much Drake Maye can do. Again, as a rookie who's still going to make his own mistakes, still needs to get acclimated to an NFL defense himself. I'm just terrified of this turning into a situation where he just has to run for his life. And beyond the bad habits, like what if he gets hurt? That's the reality. Like, the number of times I've seen Jacoby Brissett put in pressure situations where he literally can't even get out of the pocket if he wants to. That's the thing that really worries me. So
there are times, though, where you do kind of just have to do the thing where you throw the baby in the pool. Can you sink? Can you swim? Like,
you're right.
Taking quarterbacks this early,
kind of where
taking
I've always
quarterbacks.
been.
I know, but now it kind of seems
Yeah.
like, okay, we played it safe for as long as we could. Now is the time where it's like, okay, we kind of stink. We need a life preserver. Hopefully the baby could grab a life preserver when we throw him in the damn pool and see what happens. Because at a certain point, you just need to say, hey, you're either going to work in this league or you're not, and we're going to do the best we can. And yeah, maybe it's a little early, but at the same time, these guys play early. Like, your Bryce Young got thrown into the fire, stunk. CJ Stroud got thrown into the fire, played very well.
We can't compare them.
But why? The Texans
they're literally on completely opposite ends of the spectrum, where CJ Stroud walked into a team that was close enough to get to the playoffs and could support him.
People did not think that about
the year before.
People did not think that about Houston last year.
Who did they pick?
People did not think that about Houston.
The offensive line was better. Like,
the offensive line was
they had
better,
so many injuries on the offensive line. It was somewhere they still got good play.
CJ Stroud made Nico Collins a lot better than he was. They had a rookie in Tank Dell. Like,
Tank Dell was a big part of it too. Those were they were dynamic.
But he was a rookie too.
Nico Collins also did not have a quarterback throwing to him.
That was not a good.
Those guys
like Bryce Young and CJ Stroud were on such opposite ends of the spectrum.
Of
if you're going to bring them up, you have to acknowledge that Drake Maye is closer to Bryce Young's situation, where you might screw him up and put him in a situation that's so bad where you're like,
I don't think it's if you're going to put the Panthers here and the Texans here, where are the Patriots?
Patriots are like,
I think they're pretty much dead in the middle.
Right in the middle?
Yeah.
I would think that
the Patriots defense.
I would think that
we're
going
gonna
to get Patriots defense was playing. We need to talk about that.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing for me. It'd be one thing if the defense was humming and was really locked in. I'd feel a little bit better, 100%. And that's where, if they were playing like they did in week 1, yeah, it's closer to the Texans because they have a formidable defense, a good run game. The pass protection is where, they are not the Texans, obviously. But the defense isn't playing well. And John, do you want to set that up? Because we need to go in on them because their performance has been unacceptable.
We will. And again, they deserve they deserve to be talked about because it was a poor performance, but also you're simply doesn't matter. If they're the 85 Bears, you're not going to win this game if you have 98 yards of total offense heading into the last drive, which is I think where the Patriots were. So it wasn't great, but it's just not the story. Stop pressing the button. That's how you keep hearing things.
No, fall out of my ear. I got big ear holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, again, I think it's close.
Yeah.
I think it's closer to in terms of rawness and in terms of learning on the job, Drake Maye is closer to Anthony Richardson than it is to Stroud, who was, more of a pro type quarterback or whatever. But going to Mike's, and everyone thought,
I'm just going to say, I don't know if we want to be comparing Drake Maye to Anthony Richardson.
I'm saying everyone thought Richardson was too raw, and he went in there. The point is this.
And he still is. I'm just saying, it's like he makes the pretty throws, but it's like, that's like 20%. And then the other 80% is like.
But we have to accept that the guys are who they are. I think right now, Bryce Young just might not be good. I don't know if he was ruined. I think he was put in a bad situation, but he just might not be good. The only team that's ruined quarterbacks who have gone on leaving there and eventually looked okay several years later are the Jets. They did it with Geno, and they've done it with Darnold. But there's a few cases where somebody was legit ruined by a situation. In many cases, they might not have been good anyway. So we don't really necessarily know if it was the situation or the person, which again, it's not definitive. It's always going to be a bit of a shoulder shrug. Will Drake Maye start next week? Do you think that's the direction the Patriots are going to go? And should he start next week? Answer both of those questions.
I don't think he will start next week. I think that prime landing spot is still the week after San Francisco. That's just kind of where I've thought this all along, and I think that's the direction we're going. They give Jacoby one more week, one more blowout, one more gaffe, if you will, and then go there. That's what I think. What should they do? I think that's what they should do as well. I think they give Jacoby another chance, give them these 10 days and get themselves right everywhere. Give Maye maybe even more than those 30% of the reps he's getting and continue to acclimate him in the offense, but give Jacoby a chance. Give Drake Maye another week to not have to go against that daunting San Francisco defense, which now granted they're dealing with injuries more so on the offensive side of the football. So that might even, never mind. I'm not going to call that a winnable game, but that might be a game where they might be able to keep it a little bit close. So long story short, I think the landing spot for Maye is still week 5 against Miami at home.
I'm on the same page. I don't think this is the week to play him, even though they do obviously have more time, because that San Francisco defense is not a fair unit to put your young quarterback in. And again, like you said, see if you can just put decent offense on the field after you get all this time to improve. Maybe you get some more health on the offensive line. I'm not sure. And also waiting an extra week could potentially help them with those offensive lines, with the offensive line situation. And I don't want to see Drake Maye out there when things are this bad up front. But I mean, you guys did make some fair points. I'm more open to it, really, just because it actually happened. Like, I can't pretend that it's not on the table anymore, even though Mayo acknowledged that he was hesitant to put Drake Maye out there because of the offensive line. So, and I still want to wait.
Well, quickly before we close, while I don't think they're going to do it, there's definitely a chance.
For
this
sure.
Is, like a 10-day break
opened the door.
This completely opened the door. The blowout into the 10-day week completely opened the door for them to potentially put Drake Maye on the field.
Yeah, I'm at a loss. I actually don't have an answer to either question. What they're going to do and what.
Come on.
No, meaning
what do you think they'll do?
I've always, like I said, I would have just gone Drake to start the year and just lived with the chaos, because I didn't think he'd be any more ready after week 4 than he is now. So if it's a readiness thing, I would have just had him figure it out. But the problem is now the more you watch, the more you're like, this is gross, because now you know exactly what you're subjecting him to. So it's actually, it gets harder to stay with that opinion. My opinion was, play him week 1. What are you doing here? Like, this is what you do. Throw the kid out there and figure it out. It's going to suck, but that's what you do when you're a bad team and you draft a quarterback that high. But it's so unimaginably bad that I almost don't. I don't think he'll be ruined. I'm now starting to question what, if anything, is going to be gained. That being said, it's going to happen one way or another at some point, and I'll stick with that point. I'll stick with my guns there, that I don't think he'd be any more ready in week 4, 5, 6, or 7 than he would have been week 1. Only difference in week 6, he'll have had 0 NFL experience, whereas if he'd played in week 1, he would have had more. So by week 6, week 7, he might have had some clue what he's doing out there. So I think you're delaying the inevitable. That being said, it's freaking San Francisco, and it's just against this line, it's almost not fair. On the road, so it is rough. So I will say that I'm going to stay with the week. I feel like everyone was saying week 5 felt like the right spot anyway, once you got through this little gauntlet. I think that's probably it. But as you said, Mike, if I had to guess what they're going to do, I think they might. I think they might do it. I really do. I think it's possible. It's firmly on the table.
Gotham City strikes again.
Oh my God.
It's firmly on the table. So I don't know. It's interesting, but this at least it'll give us something, right? At least it'll give us something.
Yeah,
and
something.
I am all over the place. To answer more definitive, I'm leaning that they will do it, and I'm leaning that they should do it, but I don't feel as strongly about the should part as I did at the beginning of the year, because it gets worse and worse and worse to watch.
Funny that we both kind of ceded our points a little bit after today.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
you guys have met in the middle now.
Yeah.
No, it's true. I never fully got it, but holy shit, man, it's bad. But
two things I'll say on that too is, like, it does feel like the 10 days here, give it one more week, and then you almost have like 2 weeks until the Miami game at home. It's a soft.
Give him starters reps. This is what I would do. I would go 50% starters reps this whole 10 days or more, and give him a lot of reps, and letting Jacoby know this is going to be your last start. But we're going to the kid. Make it very clear. So we're going to start working him into the practices more, because we're going to make a switch. And that's it. And then try to make it that Miami game, maybe. Or I don't know whether you can do that to somebody, but I think you just start to, behind the scenes, you start to prepare Maye as if he's the starter, even though he doesn't start in San Francisco. Maybe that's a play, because you do have this extra time and extra reps where you can do that, and you're not rushing to get ready for somebody here after they heal up for a couple of days. maybe that's what they do. So we'll see how it goes.
Support us and sign up at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS or download the app today and use code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5.